We have some brutal new details about the infamous North Korean prison camps. This is some terrible stuff here. According to Amnesty International satellite images, the camps are expanding. The report includes rare testimony from a former camp guard as well as former inmates. These are people who escaped and eventually got out of North Korea and the nightmare that's going on. Quote, for Amnesty International, which has been investigating human rights violations for the last 50 years, we find North Korea to be in a category of its own in terms of how bad the abuses are of human rights. The camps are holding between 100,000 and 200,000 people. These are all people who are guilty of nothing political crimes like speaking bad about the great dictator. You get locked up for that and you're sentenced to hard labor, and oftentimes you die from it because how dare you exercise freedom of speech. Camp 16, they describe, is 560 square kilometers, or about 216 square miles. That's 3 times the size of Washington, D.C. One camp is bigger than Washington, D.C. There's forced labor between 10 to 12 hours a day on near starvation rations with a strict production target. Quote, detainees were forced to dig their own graves and were then killed with hammer blows to their necks. To show you how horrific some of this stuff is, quote, prison officers strangled detainees and then beat them to death with wooden sticks. Prison officials frequently raped women inmates who were then killed after a night of, quote, servicing the officials. The women had to die because the secret could not get out. So what we have here is a real-life hell on earth. And I can't help but think about human nature when I read this. That, number one, human beings play their role, like the famous Zimbardo experiment showed, or what was, the Stanford prison experiment, I think it was, where you had one group of people were the guards, the other group of people were the prisoners, and they pretended like they were at a jail, role-playing. They had to shut down the thing early. Why? Because everybody embodied their role. So the guards became brutal. They would torture the prisoners, and they realized, oh my God, nobody's acting morally, shut it all down. This can't happen, right? This is unethical. So what that showed, it showed you a peek into human nature, that we play our role. So if you think your job is X, Y, or Z, so the prison guards in North Korean prison camps think, well, we're supposed to beat their asses and torture them. That's what they do. And such horrendous things can happen as a result of that. So what this shows you, and this is the final point here real fast because I'm running out of time, what we need to do, we always need to self-monitor. Because it's not like human nature is pure evil, like some people would say. Like, for example, who was it? Thomas Hobbes, I believe, said that. I might be getting that wrong. I think it's him. And some philosophers say, oh no, human nature is pure good. No, it's neither. It's a mix of both. But what we always need to do is self-monitor the part of us that is more primitive, that is more willing to do these abuses and then rationalize it. And we should always try to force ourselves to act as morally and ethical as possible.